There are three basic things that you need to invest in self-storage. And I'm going to keep this as simple as possible, but you need time, you need knowledge, and you need capital. Now, if you're starting out early, there's a good chance that you don't have all three of those. You might have only two out of the three. You might have access to lots of capital, which is okay. You might have access to somebody you can partner with that has lots of knowledge. But in general, you need at least a minimum of two out of those three things to be successful, with knowledge being a requirement. Preferably, you have all three. Now, I'm talking to time. I run into people all the time that they talk about they want to sign up for a consulting program, but they're only making $20 or $30 an hour. Now, I would say in that scenario, if you're only making $20 or $30 an hour, maybe you have the time to learn those things. So maybe you can spend that time to go be mentored by somebody. Maybe you can go work for somebody for minimum wage. But that's how you can leverage basically your time to acquire knowledge, one of the other three components, okay? The other thing about it too is we often ask about is the knowledge component of it too. When should I start spending money? When should I start spending capital to acquire that knowledge? And in general, I'll say that would come to one, how much you're making, but also what cycle you're at. If I'm very early on in learning, then I don't need to spend thousands of dollars on a course. You could, but they're probably not even ready for it because you need to have a little baseline. If I'm about ready to build 2 months from now and I've never spent a single dollar on my education, then you better have a lot of experience that you're bringing over. So for example, you've been a self-storage manager for a facility, so you have that experience you have context there. Maybe you're a concrete contractor, so you've poured concrete for a lot of other self-storage facilities. If you have not started spending money, like thousands, on your education and you're starting to build, I would say that you're going to spend thousands, but it's not going to be on education. It's going to be on mistakes that you made. Like, take you an example of that. A client that we basically had brought us into a project very late on the project, had an engineer that they were working on. Engineer was on their third edit and almost 6 months into the job. They had already basically started taking some draws from loans that they were paying at basically around 8.5% interest because of where they're at right now. So that 4-month delay from where they should have been was cost them over $10,000 a month alone, just in whole cost, because they couldn't get the right project figured out. They didn't get the driveway width they needed for RV boat storage. They didn't get the best layout for basically ideal building sizes to bring costs down. So effectively, they weren't able to get what they needed to start the project in the first place. Now, I will say that, like, if you are building, let's say that you're building a self-storage facility at $90 square foot, climate control, 50,000 square feet. So you're at a $4.5 million build. If you are spending money in education, I mean, even our most expensive courses, and we're on the more expensive side, let's just say that you sign up for a $20,000 course with us, which is pretty extensive. You look at that project cost, $20,000 over, let's say, 50,000 square feet. It's less than $1 a square foot. So if you are worried about education breaking your back on a project, I would ask you is the project really feasible? Because if you can't afford an extra 50 cents or $1 a square foot on a project, more than likely you can't afford the project in general, or you shouldn't be doing the project because it's not feasible. Now, on the flip side of things, I want to bring something up. My publisher's been pretty bad about annoying me about this, and this is the first time I think I've really discussed about it. But we're going to put a link in the notes here, but we finally launched our feasibility study course. We were doing quite a bit of these courses live in person, but I just didn't have the time to teach the courses anymore because we're getting so busy. So now we have a recorded course. This course will teach you how to do a 5-minute feasibility study, full-blown feasibility study, and more importantly, if you have staff, allow you to train your staff to identify sites for you. So that course is for, can't remember, it's $995 or $1,000. But if you want to learn how to do your own self-storage feasibility course, or if you want to identify a market, this course will teach you. All right, thanks a lot.